Hello, and welcome to the Deucies reaction show. We got to come up with a better name than that for this. I think we can do better. We'll maybe brainstorm that later if we have time. But I want to thank Jacob and Garrison again for joining me this year, and welcome Burjo this year for the
I'm
first
the
time.
special guest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, special guest.
Who would have guessed?
Probably surprise,
but that's okay. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, it should be shocking to no one that you have jumped on the chance to crap on the Deucies whenever you get a chance.
As I've said in the past, a sham of an award show, but I'll try not to be too mean.
So how's everyone doing?
Good. I dug the Deuce Cast shirt out of the laundry basket. I was like, I should probably wear that.
Nice.
How long ago did you do your laundry, or did you recently wear the shirt? This is a question.
Recently wore it.
Okay.
Like last week.
All right. I'm doing well. I am a voting member of the Deucies, have been since the 2020 season.
Brag.
2020 awards. 2021, I guess, voting is when we did that.
Same.
I'm excited to get into the winners this year and what, we thought about them. Yeah.
I
and
don't
also
know
the nominees.
Voting. It's been a few years. There was one year where I did it wrong, and Dave was like, "Yeah, you did it wrong, so none of your votes counted." But other than that, I think it's been like 5-6 years. I don't know. Michael will know. I don't know how long ago I appeared on this show.
Michael has no idea.
Predated many. Oh, good point. I shouldn't be asking Michael anything to do with math. So let's say I've voted a time or two, and I like to think that I swayed maybe 1 or 2 awards in my time. We'll see.
Hey, Ted.
Yeah, so, I've been voting since 2021 as well.
And I'm the new guy here. This is only my second year, but full disclosure, yes, we all voted it on this, so we can't crap on it too much.
I lied. I was voting in the 2019 ones as well, because I remember I voted for Parasite at #1, and it almost beat Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
See, anyway. This is like how the Academy expanded their voting body, and so like it's just way worse because my vote counts less. So really, all 3 of you are my enemy in this case. But,
yeah.
Hopefully, we'll find some common ground, despite you devaluing my vote.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We have a foreigner on the voting body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also an American now too. But
well, that's true.
Get that for now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Foreign born.
Yeah.
All right. So should we jump into this? I don't know.
Let's do it.
Michael's hanging out backstage. There you go. Thank you, Mikey.
Oh, we got
we get a presentation.
Wow.
It's not as fancy as last year, but it helps me to keep track of everything and make sure that we're staying on track here.
I appreciate the Auburn colors. Thanks for that, Michael.
Oh, yeah. War Eagle. Yeah.
All right, so let's jump in with a big one here. Best Actor. So the nominees were Bradley Cooper, Zac Efron, Paul Giamatti, Glenn Howerton, Cillian Murphy.
I think it's Cillian.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Jeffrey Wright. Obviously, Cillian was the winner of the Deucey. Firstly, were there any nominations that were missed? Any snubs this year?
Anything over Bradley Cooper? No, I mean the list is fine. I like the inclusion of Blackberry, Glenn Howerton from Blackberry in there. I think he gave a really, really good performance in that film. I love Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction, but Cillian and Giamatti were the kind of runaway guys in the Oscar race, and I think that was kind of the case here too for the Deuces.
Yeah, we probably could have thrown in like the only one I could think of with Jake Gyllenhaal for The Covenant. I thought he was really good in that.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Yeah,
but even then, it was really a 2-horse race, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I will say I don't know that I think he should have won. Maybe he shouldn't have even been nominated. But I think it's really weird that Leonardo DiCaprio starred in a Martin Scorsese movie and no one even considered him for Best Actor. Again, I don't know that it's his best performance. I don't know that it's deserving of the award, but like he was an afterthought. That's wild to me.
I have to wonder if it's because, and I know that this isn't always the case, but he's kind of just an unlikable character in a lot of ways, and I wonder if that kind of affected people and how they nominated, performance. It shouldn't affect that kind of stuff because I think he gives a good performance, like you're saying, but I wonder if the unlikability of his character kind of affected his chances.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Not that Gen Z is to blame, but here's a quick tangent. I heard a clip from the Challengers premiere where Zendaya said, "Hey, please don't judge the characters too harshly." And I thought, that's crazy that she has to say that because young people will read into a performance as if it's part of someone's real life.
Yeah.
Well, look at the poor kid from Game of Thrones who is playing what's his face that became the king? Joffrey.
Oh. Is he like a...
Oh, he got so much, like, people would see him on the street and just be like, dude, you're the worst person like ever. And he's like, he hasn't acted since. He's like, I never really wanted to be an actor. I was good at it, but with this, like, he's like, I'm just done. Like, more important things I can do.
That's wild. I know that people did that 25 years ago for the cast of the Blair Witch Project because they were like, man, I thought you were dead for real. And it's like, sorry, I'm not. Sorry that I'm alive.
A movie that I feel like nobody remembers even came out, and part of it's because the main antagonist is not a very good person, but Creed 3. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good with Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. Everybody seems to have forgotten it. I think all of the Jonathan Majors stuff has kind of clouded that. But Michael B. Jordan's Adonis Creed, I think, was awesome. And Creed 3 as he was in Creed 2 and 1.
I like Creed 3 a lot. Do we acknowledge that Glenn Howerton is a supporting actor here? He is, right?
I guess he's in a lot
of Jay Baruchel's movie.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
I don't like whoever nominated it. I think
I watched this on a plane.
This is cool to see him in the list, but like, I don't know. It felt a little odd to me,
especially because supporting actor. Well, we'll get there, but I believe Michael was the one that nominated him. I think he may have been number one position, so he got on the board.
It makes a lot of sense now that you say that because that's just how Michael processes things. I think he doesn't abide by the rules. It's as if he is living in an Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right.
Well, and
no Outback Steakhouse here.
maybe Glenn went out of his way to campaign for the Deucies for Best Actor instead of Best Supporting Actor.
It's true. I didn't follow him on the campaign trail, so
yeah. And the For Your Consideration events, you didn't come to any, Burgess, but pretty good.
Was I invited? Might have got lost in the mail. I will add that I think Zac Efron rocks. I think he's so good in The Iron Claw that it made me worry about his physical health. And afterwards, I was like, what a performance. I hope he can like relax and maybe do a rom-com or maybe do like something more chill where he's not like putting his body under so much stress, because he looked a little... he looked
almost roided.
Yeah. And kudos to him for, like, I guess you might call that method acting, but
going for it for sure.
Yeah, he really went for it.
Yeah.
And I hope that it sucks that he kind of got lost in the awards shuffle. Michael, this is our time.
9 minutes.
Okay, we can move on, but
it hasn't even fully been on this.
Voted for Zach.
We also didn't talk about the winner very much. I actually put Paul Giamatti in I voted him as my number one, but I figured Killian would get it. I put him number 2.
Killian, to me, just the haunting performance of Oppenheimer. I think a lot of people have said that, and look, I am a Nolan fan. I'm a Nolan mark. I'm 100% biased here, but it was my favorite performance of the year. Out of anything, and Giamatti for me was a close second or third, depending on how I felt. Because Howerton was also really good to me, but yeah, that was a tough one. I don't remember which I put down. I'd have to look at my list again.
I don't remember either, so I'm just going to tell you like who I'd vote for right now, and maybe that'll be the same. So I would vote for Zac Efron. I think that
I think he was my number one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Efron was my number 3.
Killian was my number 2.
Howerton was actually my last. I liked him, but I don't know about maybe it's the whole best actor thing.
Yeah, I'm sure Killian was no lower than like second or third on almost every ballot. So
yeah,
Bradley Cooper was my last easily.
Yeah.
I think he's gotten way too much hate for personal stuff, like we talk about with Burgess. See, he says some weird things in interviews, but I think people go too far with their personal hate of actors when they don't really know these people, just based off of little snippets of their life. I get bothered by that stuff sometimes, but I didn't think this was an exceptional performance.
I do think it's weird to hate Bradley Cooper as a person because he seems like a nice guy. I will say on the awards show episode, Michael said that he didn't consider this an Oscar bait type performance. And I would just like to say, I don't really like that term, Oscar bait. I think that's derivative. I think it can be kind of insulting, but you're not allowed to use that term, Michael, unless you acknowledge that this is the pinnacle of Oscar. No one has wanted an Oscar more in their entire life than Bradley Cooper wants that Oscar. He is like seething. You see him at the ceremony, just like, please give me an Oscar.
That's why I think people hate. It's the try hard stuff.
Mm-hmm. I just want him to chill out.
People really, really hate when somebody like earnestly wants something sometimes, and they don't. I don't know. It's kind of this weird social media dynamic, or if a guy like that really puts it out there that he wants that kind of thing, that people start to kind of cheer against it.
I'm not bothered that he put everything into his performance, but it is kind of off-putting to see him like begging on the award circuit, like, please.
All right, before we move on,
he's the Jeb Bush of this.
Please clap. Please clap.
He should be wearing a T-shirt that says "Please clap." That is.
You got low energy Bradley Cooper out there.
That is the best thing that will be said tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, that was very good.
Before we move on, do we think that Killian was a deserved Best Actor winner for the Deucies?
I think so.
Yeah. All right.
I would say yes. I have a little more on that later, but it'll be a larger point that I'd like to make.
Okay. So we're going to move into Best Supporting Actress. We've got Emily Blunt, Viola Davis, Jodie Foster, Vanessa Kirby, Julianne Moore, and Divine Joy
Randolph.
Thank you. Obviously, Divine Joy Randolph was the winner of the Deucey, and also the Oscar.
Yep.
She was, I believe, like the easiest to predict.
Yeah.
Like she had won every single thing up until that point, and it would have been genuinely shocking if she lost.
This is a much better supporting actress list than the Oscars had. Granted, Jodie Foster being in supporting actress is very interesting. Well, I guess no. I'm sorry. It's the other one.
Saying we don't acknowledge that as if.
I'm sorry. It's Jodie Foster belongs in supporting. I thought I was getting her confused with the other one.
Yeah. Jodie is more supporting in that film. But
I think Julianne Moore had the best performance of the year for a supporting actress.
Great.
I know the movie isn't. The movie's very weird. So maybe that's why it didn't get as much love, like even at the Oscars or at the Deucies, but she was very good.
Are there any actresses that we felt were a little slighted here?
I don't know that there's a Best Supporting Actress performance I can think of this year, personally, that would have made this list over any of these nominees.
There was one person I came up with. Has anyone seen Next Goal Wins?
No.
Yeah, I did not like that movie.
The trans actress, I think her name was Kalmara. I thought she was like outstanding in that role.
I
That's
have
cool.
not seen it.
No comment. I did not care for that movie. I would kind of watch it through my eyelids a little bit, even though we reviewed it on the podcast.
It
But-
wasn't
I
a
saw
great
it didn't-
movie, but it was had some heart and it was kind of fun. And if you like Taika, then it's his sort of humor.
I know I
I'm a
shouldn't
mock.
do this. I shouldn't do this, but I saw it got mixed reviews, and I was like, I'll save my money.
Yeah.
I'll see it. I didn't see it yet. I will eventually. I will say I loved seeing Viola Davis in here. I think it's pretty cool that Michael Jordan gave the blessing to the screenwriter and to Affleck only under the condition that he cast Viola Davis as his mother. It's like if MJ's like demanding you, then you're a pretty good actress.
Honestly, if I'd given it more thought, I might have put Viola Davis at 1.
I think I did, but I will add. I don't want to dwell on the Iron Claw too much tonight, but I think Mara Tierney got like she was. Thank you, Michael. Air that definitely made like 90 million at the box office.
Yeah.
On Prime, yes. I think Mara Tierney as the one of 2 female characters basically in the Iron Claw is tremendous in like 5 total scenes. There's not too much of a spoiler because everyone knows what the movie's about, but there's a moment where she's saying like, I have to get new funeral clothes because I can't be wearing the same one over and over again. That just broke my heart. And she's so good.
She's looking in the mirror in that scene, if I remember correctly.
She's so good. Like watching the tragedies unfold is heartbreaking, but then like experiencing it through her eyes is just like gut wrenching. And I thought she was so good.
Vanessa Kirby, the only redeeming thing about Napoleon.
Absolutely.
I thought that was such
action scenes were good. I think
Ridley
still knows how to direct action.
And it did look nice too. Like
the
set design was nice.
That's
I want to see the 4-hour cut. Drop the 4-hour cut.
Yeah.
Really.
That's one thing that does get me excited about Gladiator 2 is I do think he still directs action well. And
Paul Mescal's abs got me excited about it.
So, do we think that Divine was the rightful winner here? Did we get this one right?
I'm not mad at it. She's great.
She won the Oscar.
She gave maybe my favorite Oscar speech as well.
See,
shout out her publicist.
I remember that. Yeah,
she did.
Yeah.
I think they weren't supposed to do that. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, she said in her speech, they told me not to say this.
That's right.
See, I love finding out who won the Oscars, but I am not there for all the pageantry that goes on with it. But my wife, on the other hand, she loves the pageantry and doesn't care about who wins. So she's watching it. I'm in the other room watching something else. She just calls out the winners to me. It's a perfect system.
Nice.
Before we move on, we forgot to do this at the start. How many of the Deucey nominated movies did everyone see?
100%.
Every single one except for Godzilla -1 because it was not legally available to me and I couldn't find a good enough pirated stream.
I don't know the number. I'm gonna say 78%. I don't know. I did not see
40 films.
I did not see Naiad. I think those are the only 2 we've hit on so far that I did not see.
Okay. I also hit 100 and I had to do some little back channels to get some of them.
Yo ho. Pirates Life
I saw Godzilla -1 in theaters like
Me too.
through American Patriot. So
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
I was so busy in December when it was out in theaters here. And I was like, I'll catch it when it hits streaming. Little did I know that I'm going to be 90 years old when it hits streaming.
All right,
But you can go see Adam Wingard's Godzilla X Kong Empire right now.
Very much enjoyed it.
In theaters.
good movie, different movie.
Yes, very different.
Yeah, it's the world cinema versus American cinema in a nutshell. That
very true. Very true.
All right, moving on to best director. Everyone's favorite Bradley Cooper, David Fincher, Greta Gerwig, Christopher Nolan, Alexander Payne, and Celine Song for Past Lives.
Yeah, I mean, this is the right choice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nate.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I was gonna ask people's opinions. So
I put okay. I'm gonna be 100% up front. I put Cooper at 6. I put Fincher at 5. I did not care for the killer.
Really?
I
thought it
put
was
Fincher
fine.
at 6, Cooper at 5.
yeah, I did not like the killer at all. Like
The killer stunk.
Wow.
fully
I
voiceover.
don't think it's.
Wow.
Well,
Stunk?
yeah, stunk may be too strong of a
I-
word.
I just thought it was mid, as the kids say.
Oh man, I loved it. I
I-
thought it was like an incredible self-commentary about a dude who cares way too much about his job and makes a mistake and realizes that he's a doofus.
There's some good stuff in there and some good like clumsy stuff in there.
Yeah.
But overall I don't know. Maybe I needed to be in a different mood to see it.
It's almost
But-
like an anti-action movie where like
Yeah, and that
normally
may be
kind of
what.
movie, you watch that guy like redeem himself step by step, but instead you watch him make mistake after mistake after mistake to the point where he realizes that none of it matters. And I thought that was kind of remarkable.
That may have hurt the film for me initially. I may need to do a rewatch with that in mind.
The narration is what really hurt the film for me.
All that voiceover just
Yeah.
I'm normally allergic to voiceover myself,
Yeah.
but that opening scene, because he works alone, I don't know what else you could do.
Yeah, no, like I liked some of it. I just thought it was a bit much. Like some of it worked, some of it I was like, this guy's talking so much.
Side tangent, when the Fall Guy started last night, I was like, oh no, how much of this is gonna have voiceover?
I had that same thought, and thankfully, but also weirdly, it just kind of went away the whole time.
Yeah.
That was weird. I will add. I don't think Nolan's undeserving. I will add. My favorite film of the year was Priscilla. So I would have loved to have seen Sofia Coppola, who I think finally, like I've loved a lot of her films up until now, but this was like the first true home run for her, in my opinion. And when we talk about directing, that can mean so many different things. I think Nolan got recognized here because he succeeded across the board at like the action, the interrelationships of the characters, the pacing, the blocking, like all of it, like full package, nailed it. Good job to him. But the dynamic between Elvis and Priscilla in the film Priscilla, I thought was just remarkably well directed. And I think that it's hard to do something like that where you're meant to see through the eyes of an unexperienced narrator, because it's like a 15, 16-year-old girl the whole time. So like we need to see Elvis be really charming and handsome and attractive, but we also need to see him be bad. And we need to see that dynamic going back and forth. And I think that it was a tough assignment. I think she nailed it.
I haven't got to Priscilla yet.
I was kind of hoping it would get award nominated for a Deucies, so I would have more of a push to watch it. But
like Kaylee Spaney or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Asteroid City, Wes Anderson, Guy Ritchie, The Covenant could have been nominated here.
I second Wes. I think that was one of his best in I don't know what probably his best since Grand Budapest. I think it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with Wes Anderson. His movies are too odd and weird for me.
Says the guy wearing a bright pink T-shirt. You look right at home in a Wes Anderson frame.
Wes Anderson movies are just such a vibe. Like they're just you know what you're like. You pretty much know like the vibe that you're walking into. You may not know what the story is, but I don't know. They just kind of make me happy.
She got nominated for the
a few years ago where they had like Wes Anderson directs The Strangers.
Oh yeah,
and that was hilarious. Like I would watch that movie, but I'm not watching Fantastic Mr. Fox or Asteroid City.
Fantastic Mr. Fox is so good.
Mr. Fox rules. It's really easy to make fun of Wes Anderson because he has such a distinct style, and even sometimes I'm even like, do something a little bit different, please. I think he did do something a little bit different with Asteroid City because during COVID, I think he got really introspective, and so he wrote about a playwright on his 50th birthday, which is obviously like a stand-in for Wes himself, like kind of going through like why do I create these things? Like what does this matter? What am I contributing? And the way Wes kind of looked inward at himself on screen, I think was pretty terrific.
I appreciate the craft. I just didn't enjoy the product.
I'm not going to complain that she's not here because she got nominated for an Oscar, but Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, I think, is a really, really well-directed film.
Agreed.
It's an awesome film. I know not everybody in the Deucey voting body loves that film, but I really like that film a lot. Although I think she did it.
Yeah, I think she did it. But shouts out to Snoop, the dog.
Yeah.
The dog is so good. Incredibly good.
That was shocking.
That was very shocking.
That sick scene was incredible.
Yeah.
I was literally like, they just killed the dog.
And they recorded it.
It would not be the first time that a director killed an animal on set and put it in. Nate, have you
first time in many years.
Have you seen a film called Wake in Fright, Nate?
No.
Australian horror movie where they go on a kangaroo hunt that is real. Don't watch it. It's
kangaroos are pests, so
that's what the people making the film said, that like these guys were actually going out on a kangaroo hunt anyway, and so we went along with them and recorded it. And so like no additional kangaroos were murdered, but we do see kangaroos literally getting murdered, and it's wild.
They machine gun them from helicopters.
That's crazy.
That's what they do in Texas to the hogs.
Can you eat them? Do people eat them?
Yeah, kangaroo's delicious.
Okay, sick. I want some.
Yeah, I'd eat
some. If you watch the Andrei Tarkovsky film Andrei Rublev, they kill an actual horse on screen.
That's wild. That's a very big thing to kill.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be injured in the film, and so they shoot it.
Heaven's Gate. Don't lots of horses die in the filming of that one?
Oh, maybe so. That feels like maybe accidental, but they just didn't care, and they
So, do we think Nolan was the worthy winner of this one?
I think so, but I'm biased.
Shout out Celine Song, directorial debut,
yeah,
writing debut.
Absolutely.
Very solid. She was my number 3.
She was my number 2.
Here's where I'm going to say my big thing. So I don't necessarily think he's undeserving, but when you're considering the Deucies as an awards body, as a historical, 10 years now of Deucies, it's in the Library of Congress, I'm sure. Like all of these past winners have been well documented. You have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of the Deucies? And in my mind, it should be, we think that the award circuit is incomplete without our thoughts and opinions on the year in film. But this is 3 for 3 that the winner has also won the Oscar. What are we doing? Are we just repeating the Oscars? I see Michael saying that they're award show for the people. I mean,
here's how I think about the Deuces.
Oscar winners, like, can we get a little bit of variety?
Here's how I think about the Deuces. I vote for whatever I like the best.
I know everyone does. Like, touche. Like, that is what everyone votes from their heart. But
well, yeah.
I would just, like, every time that an Oscar winner won a Deucey, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like, I already watched them give a speech, so it doesn't really move the needle much for me. But I can't disagree with Nolan in a vacuum that he didn't do a great job.
I will say, so looking back at previous Deucey director award winners, the Daniels, Denis Villeneuve for Dune, Chloe Zhao, Nomadland, Tarantino Once Upon a Time, Spike Lee, Denis Villeneuve again, Damien Chazelle, George Miller, Alejandro Inarritu, Alfonso Cuarón. Those are pretty pretentious picks. Like those aren't like
those are a lot of Oscar winners.
I was about to say you're almost alternating because a couple of those weren't. But they were still really good director performances. Denis on both of his wins, he didn't win for Blade Runner or Dune, and he wasn't even nominated for Dune. Which was a thing that was talked about at the time. It's also just a microcosm of them doing 10 films for Best Picture and only 5 directors up there. We can get into that too for the Oscars specifically, but yeah, there
There's
are a lot of
Celine
Oscar.
and Fincher in here. I will say that.
Oh yeah. There are a lot of Oscar winners that have been Deucey winners, but I think that almost validates my feeling about Nolan right now. So that's how I'm feeling about all this. You know,
It's such a transcendental performance that not only does it get the prestigious Oscar, but it also gets the People's Award, the Deucey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Next one.
Here's a different one. Look at that.
Best Supporting Actor. We've got Sterling K. Brown, Willem Dafoe, Matt Damon, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., and Ryan Gosling. With, of course, Ryan Gosling taken away for Ken. That was my number one. I know this was a surprise to some people that he won, but of all those performances, like that's the most memorable one to me, and the one that I'm probably going to rewatch the most.
He was my number 2, which is probably why he was able to easily win, or not easily win, but win. Because my number 1 was RDJ. Just again, I'm biased. That's me. But Gosling was undeniably so fantastic in Barbie. Practically stole a lot of. I mean, stole every scene he was in for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of this list isn't a slouch. I mean, this is the most stacked of the acting categories I think we've had so far.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite acting category of the season, just overall.
I'll tell you what, I had a pretty controversial number 1. I actually had Matt Damon as my number 1 and Ryan Gosling as my 2. I think Damon's better than Downey Jr. is in that movie.
He's great.
I know he's a little bit of like, he's not doing that much more different than a normal Matt Damon character necessarily, but I just really liked him in it.
He's doing something different in a Nolan film. He's not, or in a sci. Well, he's not a sci-fi film, but he's not stuck somewhere needing to be rescued.
Well, that's true.
So, yeah.
That's true.
I think that Sterling K. Brown was really awesome. Like he probably got maybe the least screen time of anyone on this, but he delivered in every scene that he was in, and I think that movie would have been nowhere near quite as interesting without his character. So that's one of the things I look at, like, and could I see a different actor in this role? And for nearly all of them, other than Gosling, I couldn't see anyone. Like, I could see other people playing those roles, but I don't think I could see anyone else being Ken.
Sterling K. Brown, the first time I saw American Fiction, because I've seen it twice, I did not get the hype in terms of any acting performance. Well, specifically Sterling K. Brown. I was like, I mean, he was fine. That's how I felt, but I didn't really think it was award worthy. When I rewatched it, I had a much more appreciation for his performance and even the film as a whole. But yeah, at first I was not a huge fan of that nomination. Oscar wise specifically, I was like, I don't really get this. But
yeah, I think that was mainly a screen time thing. He definitely had the best bang for his buck. I had him in last. I had Willem Dafoe above him, and then De Niro, then Downey Jr.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Dafoe might actually have less screen time. I think that it was cool to see him on this list because Ruffalo got the supporting actor nom for Poor Things and all of the other awards circuits, but Dafoe was great. I mean, he's doing his thing. Every time he burped a bubble, it made me laugh. Yeah, he did his thing. It's nice to see De Niro in here for Killers, which I know is a controversial movie in the Deuce Award, but I think like De Niro he can just quietly just blow you away without even flinching almost. It looks effortless at this point. It looks like he's phoning it in, but then you look closely and you're like, no, he's not phoning it in. He's genuinely that good. And now I'm unsettled because of how good he is.
I really think this list is just stacked though. I mean, if any of these guys had won, I probably would have been okay with it.
Well, one of them did.
I mean, my preference would be RDJ or Gosling. I'm very happy that Gosling won this. I was surprised for sure, but I don't know that he won much all season, so it was kind of cool to see him win this.
I just thought of one for best actor that I forgot. Not many people saw it. Nate, you actually saw it, and I think it's kind of a controversial movie, but it's Nefarious. Sean Patrick Flannery. No matter what you think about the movie, the performance was really good. And I thought
creepy.
Say what?
It was creepy.
Yes, very creepy.
That's what he was going for, but I've tried to block that movie in my mind.
But yeah, that just popped up as I was looking for other supporting actors, and I was
what?
Oh, he was good in Best
Marshawn Lynch and Bottoms missed this. That's what we're missing.
That would have been awesome. I will throw in two more myself to bring back Priscilla. That was the first time I'd ever seen Jacob Elordi. Thought he was fantastic. I think the fact that Coppola cast someone who's much taller than Elvis was in real life was a really interesting choice. But she did that to play up the power dynamic. He's almost like a foot taller, maybe even more than a foot taller than Kaylee Spaney. There was a clip going around of him on the talk show circuit when he was promoting Priscilla, and the guy asks him like, "Hey, how tall are you?" And he says, "I'm 6'5", and everyone starts clapping, like, just like, good for you, you're 6'5", and he's like, "Okay, I didn't do anything. Just how I was born." I thought he was great, and then I will throw in Ben Affleck directing himself in Air as Phil Knight was just so good.
Yeah.
If you know anything about Phil Knight, you know how weird that guy is. He's like a Buddhist capitalist hybrid, which is just such a strange thing. And I think that he nailed it. And you could tell that he just relished playing that role.
And once again, bad guy, good actor, bad guy, Jonathan Majors, grade 3. Bad guy. Doesn't deserve a nomination, but
that makes me so mad.
He's a phenomenal actor.
He is. It makes me so mad.
It sucks for a variety of reasons, but obviously the worst thing is that he abused, a girlfriend, and that seems like a whole messy relationship in the first place. But yeah,
I don't know if I've been more disappointed in celebrity in the last several years than I have with him. I would have bought all the stock I could in him coming out of Last Black Man in San Francisco. I had no idea who he was, and he just he nailed it. And I was so excited to see where his career went, and now it's over essentially.
That one thing where he did the one-man show,
yes,
that just blew me away. That was
on the corner, just brilliant stuff.
He had an indie film that was supposed to come out this year, Magazine Dreams, where they were talking up his performance like it was going to be an Oscar contender.
And that probably won't ever see the light of day, I would guess.
Yeah.
Which
it's going to be a while.
Filmmakers, but I hate it more for his victims. So
yeah.
One that I want to throw out that is maybe a little left field, but Dave Bautista in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it was like, I don't know, you've seen his character go on quite a journey, and there was some really good moments in that.
He's really improved as an actor over the years.
Yeah.
Really improved.
I think that he's a pretty terrific actor. It made me so sad when that quote came out where he's like, "I'd love to do a rom-com, but no one will cast me." I was like, "Please don't cast him. It's not his fault."
Jeremy, just write a rom-com for him.
I'll try and get it in the hands of.
We could do a micro-budget rom-com,
How do we all feel about Gosling winning for Best Supporting Actor here for the Deuces?
I like it. I think
that's a choice.
All right.
What's up, Matt?
What up, Matt?
All right, Jeremy, on to your favorite category here. Best Screenplay. So we've got Justine Triet and Arthur. What was that? Triet and Arthur Harari. Wes Anderson, Greta Gerwig, and Noah Baumbach, David Hemmingson, Christopher Nolan, and Celine Song, with Nolan winning this one as well.
Now, where's American Fiction?
Well, I'm offended that the Deuce cast went full Golden Globes and condensed this into one category.
Yeah.
Oscars nominate 10 screenplays. So, yeah, that's my soapbox.
Well, they didn't have to choose now for Barbie as to whether it's original or adapted, so they can straddle the line there for the viewer.
My take on that whole controversy was there's a third option, and it's not nominated at all because the script was not anywhere close to the best part of the film, which
Yeah.
The script is definitely. I think the script is probably one of the weaker parts.
Yeah, I think there are entire subplots where I'm like, I could do without this. And if that's
like,
then maybe your screenplay is not award
yeah,
worthy. I don't know.
whereas like acting and the songs and the production design, costume design, yeah,
Mhm.
All that, all the aesthetics of it, perfect.
yeah.
Writing, I felt like that was where most of the flaws came through.
You know, it was
I agree.
I think a pretty well written movie was Rustin.
I
I
didn't
very
see
much
that.
enjoyed that movie. The
Okay.
performance by Coleman Domingo was very good, but I think there were some good lines in that thing too.
Nice.
Um,
I need to see that.
I voted Slane's Song #1 here. Oppenheimer was all the way down at number 4 for me. I actually had Barbie over it more for like I agree with everything you guys said, but I think I'm giving it a bit of credit for being able to create a movie out of Barbies.
Sure.
They did a good job with that.
Good
And
story.
I had holdovers number 2. Yeah.
I think it's a really good story that they came up with, but the script itself, like page per page, I think that it was the link of the production.
And I think that's where I sometimes have a problem is separating those two. Like the script and the story.
Maybe that's what the Deucies should do. That's their separation. Best story, best screenplay.
There you go.
Take notes, Mikey.
Mm-hmm. He won't.
No,
that's a
in a whole original category. That's interesting.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I had Past Lives as #1 here.
I think I did too, and this is a little suspect.
This is suspect.
3 of us saying,
Garrison, what did you do?
Garrison, fess up.
No. I'll tell you my top 3 because I know that. I'd have to look at the rest. I had Oppenheimer #1. First off, you're condensing this book into that 3-hour movie and not missing much information. For me, it's a really tight, great, well-paced 3-hour movie. It's got some really interesting, funny moments in the script. I own the script. It's right over there in my closet. But my number 2 though. Oh crap! Now I have to look. Oh, it was Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall was easily my second favorite of this list on here.
Yeah.
Past Lives is number 3 for me.
Okay.
So, just slightly lower than you guys.
So we can blame you that it did not
win. Obviously, that means the other hosts probably put Oppenheimer pretty high.
Probably.
I think I had it number 2. I don't hate that it won. I felt like it was very good, but I liked Past Lives better, and I thought that was maybe a better screenplay.
And it was based on some of her own experiences, but it is an original screenplay, and I think that like they're both tough assignments, but that I think that they're very different endeavors, which is why I like that the Academy splits it up into adapted and original. Because that's where the story stuff comes in. Like the Oppenheimer, the book that it's based on, that's a tome, right? That's like 500-600 pages.
Yeah.
So Nolan didn't have to think like, what's going to be in my third act? What's the bridge between? Where's my act 2 twist? He didn't have to come up with the story beats. They were already there. It's more condensing at that point. Like for an adapted screenplay, you condense the material into a script.
Well.
And for original, you bring it out of nothing into a screenplay.
The unique thing about it, when you read it, it's written entirely in first person. And I wonder if that maybe turned off Oscar voters.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know, because it was never really considered. American Fiction was the front runner for that entire thing. The entire season. I think it won pretty much every adapted screenplay award.
Yeah, it was winning a lot of them. 2 that I would have liked to see here. One would be Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that the reasons why it got left out of the award circuit largely are the reasons it should be in, which is that they I forget the writer, it wasn't Scorsese, but he took an existing text and he drastically changed it to where it made sense as a movie. Because in the book, it plays out like a murder mystery. You don't know who's killing all these indigenous peoples. You don't find out until the end that it's De Niro. Spoiler alert.
Oh, Eric Roth and Scorsese.
There you go. Roth, not your cousin, maybe.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they switched it around to where it was focused on the how rather than the who, because you're not going through that movie guessing who's doing it. You're just like, you're seeing the how and the why. And it's, to me, I thought that was compelling to do it in that manner, in that framework. I think the Jesse Plemons character comes in at the beginning of the book and it's kind of your proxy.
Well, I think the book is largely like almost the founding of the FBI type of story.
Yeah.
And so I think it'd be interesting to see that movie. I think that's an interesting movie as well. And I think I may have enjoyed it more
too.
Mm-hmm. I think that people will say that it's a good adapted screenplay if it's very close to the source material.
Right.
I think it's an even bigger challenge, and to me, a more impressive feat when you take an existing text and change like 40% of it to make it a different structure, a different point of view, different pacing. Like that I thought was really impressive.
Kind of like what they did with The Never-Ending Story.
Well, they're still writing that one, as you know, Nate, because it is never ending. But we are all still writing that one. We are the original authors.
Still haven't seen it.
The other one that really impressed me, and I don't know if it was based on an existing text or not, but The Iron Claw, once again, I think you have such a tough assignment. Because most people know by now that there was a brother left out of the screenplay, of the film altogether. And some people, like wrestling fans, would say, like, how dare you? That's part of their family story. It's insulting to the legacy of that person, that human being. But on the other hand, I've heard Sean Durkin say in interviews that, like, if you include that brother and you start the film by having, like, I think it's like a child drowning or electrocuted or something awful.
Well, they reference it in the movie, right?
They're actually, I think there are two brothers left out. One is referenced in the movie and one was just not in it altogether.
Okay.
And Durkin's point was, like, if you start the film by watching a child die brutally, then it's exploitative. And you're just manipulating the viewer's emotions. And no one's going to sit through that. They're going to think, like, wow, you're just going to berate me with tragedy. Whereas he had to pace out the tragic events of the existing screenplay in a way where you see the rise before the fall. It's not just fall after fall after fall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was probably a really tough decision on their part to cut that whole person's existence. But I think it works for the film because I think that they did it for the right reason.
Yeah, I think it does as well. And I'm not that familiar with the story. I was never really into wrestling. But I always have a lot of leniency on movies about historical events, because if you're going to your movies to learn about history, you're a moron.
Yeah.
Like, sure, movies can be important and they can kind of say something.
Jacob, I just saw Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Are you saying everything that happened in that movie isn't 100% true?
It's a documentary, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, but like also that, like, when you're making a movie, like, you almost have to put, like, whatever your goal is with the movie, whether it's entertainment or to make people, like, maybe it's not always like to make people sad, but like the type of movie you're going for, you may have to embellish some stuff. You may have to leave some stuff out. Now, if you tell a completely, like, false depiction of history and you're not kind of upfront about that, that's a different story. But like, if you're making changes to something to make it better for the screen, I'm perfectly fine with that. And I know a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
So do we think that Oppenheimer was the correct winner here, or?
I'd have preferred
I
Wars,
think
but
so.
Not mad at it.
I'm not a Christopher Nolan fanatic stalker. Not saying anybody on this panel is.
Just gotta. Yeah, oh, you know what? I actually have a
I have one of Chris Nolan's hairs in a test.
And
tube.
I have this whole time I've been typing up an email to Christopher Nolan warning him that he might want to get a restraining order at some point.
Screener?
I'm growing my own Christopher Nolan.
It's a screener for the screenplay nom that they were trying to win. It's actually got a Blu-ray. That literally, I put it in my player. It functions as the normal Blu-ray, but it does have a little menu at the beginning that says, "Once you've watched it, please destroy it."
That's awesome.
Yes, I love those kinds of things. I have a few screeners around here that I put out not a ton of money for. These are pretty cheap, honestly. So,
all right. So it sounds like this is maybe the first one that we're maybe a little split on, but not upset about the winner. All right, on to best animated film. We have Elemental, Leo, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the Super Mario Brothers, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, with Spider-Man winning it here. What do we think about this category here?
First off, Leo needs to be off this list.
Leo was so bad.
Yeah,
that movie stunk.
I wouldn't go that far, but like my 9-year-old
not making this, but Leo making it. I mean, I'm not even a big Boy in the Heron stan, but I'm like, what are we doing here?
You're not wrong. That's a little bit egregious. That's not one of the 5. No, make it 6. You're the Deucies. You have no rules. Just give us 7. I don't care. Why is Boy in the Heron not here?
I don't think anyone saw it.
I saw Boy in the Heron.
Well, I mean,
I saw Boy in the Heron.
Not here.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah.
Michael.
I think only Mikey of the Deucecast saw. Leo's amazing.
I don't know if I took too many mushrooms beforehand or if it was a fever dream. That movie was not
enough mushrooms.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I really wish Sandler didn't do that voice the whole time.
Oh, Sandler's voice is awful.
Oh, it just was.
And, you've got Sandler, you got Bill Burr. You think those aren't guys you think about being in an animated film, but them doing a kid's film might work if you got the right script with them. They're both guys that I think could do good voice work,
Isn't Sandler Count Dracula in the Hotel Transylvania?
Yeah.
That fits his vibe, I think. Like he does the Dracula. He does all that.
See, but that's not as that voice is not as annoying as this Leo voice.
Just watch the trailer for it at some point, Jeremy, because he does the voice in the trailer, and you'll know what we're talking about. It makes you want to. It makes you wish that you were currently having an aneurysm while watching the movie.
Well, I can't wait.
But yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, definitely the deserving winner.
I agree. I was pleased to see the Turtles on here because that was one of the most surprising films for me of the year. I didn't expect much of it. And it could be a little bit of an animation bias in me, although I love a lot of animated films. I just I don't know. Who cares? Do we need this? And it turned out really good. The one thing that bothered me, which apparently bothered no one else, is that Donatello is the only one that has not gone through puberty, and that was just weird. It was a choice. Why?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I get it. Maybe that's logically accurate that one of the 4 would be the last one to go through puberty, but why? Why do we need that? It was so distracting to me. Just the high shrill voice. I don't know.
I remember what you're. I was bothered by that in the theater as I saw it in the theater. Yeah.
I'm bothered by it now.
On a rewatch, it may bother me less, but I was just whose idea was this?
I remember coming into it and I knew that they were kids' voices too, and I was like, it's an interesting idea. I don't know. At times, for me, I really enjoyed that film, but at times I kind of was like, okay, they're really trying to appeal to kids nowadays. They're really trying to appeal to kids nowadays, and it's not necessarily appealing to me, and that's fine. Yeah. But I was like, oh God, the jokes about Riz and stuff like that. I was like, oh, does this really have to come into we're making jokes about that in movies now.
I love this movie. I had it as number one.
Okay.
I was a
Awesome.
huge
Wow.
Teenage
The
Mutant Ninja Turtle
animation is
fan growing up,
fantastic.
and because of that, my daughter is also a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. So we went and saw this together, and I had a blast with it. I loved the first Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse, and this one being a part one of two, really kind of lessened that a little bit. So the fact that Mutant Mayhem was a whole movie in itself, I just love that. But it hopefully will lead to a whole series of them. I thought the humor was funny. I love the animation. Ice Cube was awesome in it.
Jackie
Like,
Chan was very good.
Yeah.
I had some Ninja Turtle toys growing up. I may have watched some of the TV show like when I was growing up, but I didn't have that big of an affinity for it. I had Super Mario Bros. 2. I had Spider-Man number 1. I get that people are upset about the whole ending in the middle of a movie, seemingly. I very much enjoyed that. But I think just on the animation and the different things that they did with frame rate alone deserve a win for this one. Like the whatever character, the sketched out character, what the heck is his name? You know what I'm talking about?
I hate to tell you that I do not, off the top of my head right now, know what you're talking about.
Is it one
I'll
of the
have it here shortly.
Gordon Gecko, played by Paul Rudd?
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
the
Vulture.
the British one.
Oh, Spider-Punk.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Spider-Punk's
yeah.
animation stuff, the behind the scenes stuff they put out on Twitter about that is so fascinating.
I love his whole shtick about being an anarchist.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not something I expected going
Daniel
into the
Kaluuya.
film, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I didn't hate that it was really a part one, but that sort of it sort of builds you up and then it just sort of lets you down and you gotta wait. So for me to
and
fully judge that, I gotta see the next one as well, and then I can sort of put that together as
See,
as one.
I love anticipation. Like it's what I hate about the binge model now, and that's why I like HBO shows, for example, so much, because it seems like so many HBO shows, every single episode's kind of a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I'm all in for a nice cliffhanger, stop in the middle type of deal.
I talked to several people that were like, "Oh, I loved it, but that cliffhanger at the end kind of bothered me and kind of ruined it for me." And to them, I would say, "Get a life." Comic books have done this since the beginning of comic books, and this is like
yeah.
book movie ever. Films have been doing it forever. I mean, this is the Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Verse saga. Like, were you mad? I mean, people probably were mad coming out of Empire back in '82 or whatever, but like to them, I would also say get a life because like this is, I mean, Bonanza and Gunsmoke did that every week. Like, who cares? Like, you knew there was going to be a part 3. A few people were like, "Oh, I didn't know it was part of a trilogy." Really? How'd you miss that? Like, stop making these as long as we keep scoring them with money and awards.
And The Boy and the Heron won the Oscar too. We should note that real quick. But I was not so bothered with it that it ruined the movie for me. I really love this movie. This is my number 1 of this, easily by far. I think Turtles is my number 2 easily as well.
Agreed.
But I did kind of feel in the moment like maybe wasn't super satisfied with the resolution of everyone's story to that point. And I get what you're saying. And, if we're doing like a comic book story, you get month to month and things just continue to happen and continue to happen. But when I was walking out of the theater, I was kind of like, well, Miles is just strapped to that, that boxing, bag. And, And I was like, oh, I know he's gonna get out. I know he's gonna fight his evil self, but and at the time, I honestly did think that we were gonna see it in less than a year, the sequel, and now we've passed that point. So anyway, I'm not mad about it. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, it's an interesting letting off point.
I loved it. I think it's a great cliffhanger, and here's the point: it made me really want to see part 3.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's accomplished.
I also just love that feeling of like the first time you see a cliffhanger of, what? That's it. Like it's just so much fun. You don't really get that very much anymore.
But then I'll just compare it this way, and just what I'm trying to say is, when you look at other cliffhangers, so like Empire, they're in the ship looking out. They've all kind of gotten back together, and kind of some things have concluded by that point. Infinity War, you watch the people go away, and everyone's kind of like, oh crap, well, what's going to happen? But a story has kind of felt concluded at that point. I felt like it was almost like it was Gwen's movie in terms of the arc that had been completed, and not really Miles' movie in terms of the arc that had been completed. That Miles' arc was kind of really the 2 films and whatever's going to happen with his father that he can't prevent the death of, but I think is not true. I think they'll ultimately find a way to let him save his dad without.
We don't trade lives, Captain.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the sequel. But yeah, it did feel like that was almost because Gwen starts off the movie with her narration, and then by the end of it, she's kind of gotten this team together and realized that she was wrong by the way she handled things at first. But yeah, Miles is just kind of stuck in the middle of his story. I think that was my initial like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're all sort of in agreement that Spider-Man was the winner here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Best brain candy movie. Anyone but you. I don't know how that got in here, but
yeah, how did that get into brain candy?
Anyone but you. Gran Turismo, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, John Wick 4, Meg 2, The Trench, and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
The thing about Anyone But You is also that it's bad, so it shouldn't have been on it.
Wonderful setting, terrible movie.
Wonderful setting, 2 good lead performances. The supporting cast should never be allowed to act again.
Glenn and Sydney are innocent. I will agree.
Yeah.
Like sitting through that movie, I could not believe how bad everybody was in it. Like besides Glenn and Sydney, like they just looked like it was the first time ever reading a script.
It felt like a Lifetime movie accidentally got 2 movie stars in the lead roles, and they were like, "Oh, what do we do?" And everyone else was already like, "Well, we're just Lifetime actors." It's like, "Oh, make it work," and then it did not work. So that's enough about that. But I've only seen 4 of these. I did not see Meg 2,
That's good.
Don't.
Meg 2 was awesome.
It's awful.
It's so bad. Meg 2 was below Anyone But You in my voting.
Yeah, it was for me too. That was it's literally Meg 2 and then Anyone But You.
Yeah, I actually had Guardians 3 in my number 1 slot here. I think it was just such a great cap off to that trilogy, and it just sticks out so much in the recent MCU stuff that we've gotten that it makes it seem even better than maybe it is, but I still think it's a very good movie. I think it might, I can't remember for sure, but it might be my favorite of the 3.
Guardians? Okay, yeah. It's not mine, but I enjoyed it enough that it was my number 3 on this list. It was my number 2 actually, behind Mission Impossible. But I'm such a mark for the Mission Impossible series.
I should have stopped it too.
They should not have stopped it.
Pinnacle of the series.
I will say, like, in the spirit of this award, shouts out to Jacob Pinkerton. May he rest in peace. I hope you're out there somewhere, Pinky. I know you're not. I probably voted for John Wick 4, but I don't think I'd even call that brain candy. I watched John Wick 4 and I'm thinking about like the influences of things like Buster Keaton and just like a really interesting palette of motivation for those stories. And I'm also thinking, how did they do this? I'm looking at the Arc du Triomphe, is that it? Where they like do in riding in circles,
Yeah.
whole sequence. I'm like my brain is on. It's like I want to know everything about what I'm watching right now, but I can't because I'm watching it. Whereas I'm fine with Dead Reckoning being the Brain Candy Award winner because it got to like AI is a villain, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know. Like this is kind of silly. I'm ready to just like zone out and watch like, ooh, cool stunt jump, great. Like that was definitely turned my brain off. Whereas Wick, it had me like thinking.
I feel like it's insulting almost to put Mission Impossible in the brain candy, just personally.
So it got you
just
thinking.
as a series, I think it's a bit more cerebral than your average blockbuster.
Oh yeah, yes.
I think there's more brain candy movies in the action genre than there are in the brain candy one.
Yeah,
like Equalizer 3, Extraction 2. Those are two absolutely turn your brain off movies.
I had two that I think we missed. Cocaine Bear.
Yes. Cocaine Bear should have been the winner of this.
My number one was The Meg 2. Like, I love that movie. That is the definition of turn your brain off.
Look,
and just
I'm happy for you.
Grab a pot of popcorn and just enjoy it. It was so stupid.
So I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. I can't enjoy that movie. I'm sorry. Movies too, That's good timing for that comment.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say though, when we talked about the I thought that was an interesting point. You talked about John Wick, bringing up who'd you bring up? Buster Keaton. You know, when I'm watching John Wick or even a Mission Impossible, when you got Tom Cruise, Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, all those come to mind when you're watching those guys just put their body on the line for
sure
these ridiculous stunts.
Yeah. If you watch an old Buster Keaton film, and I encourage all of you to do so, if you haven't yet, it is dangerous. Like you'll watch The General and be like, this man could have died.
Yeah. The Sherlock Jr. is a 45-minute film. It is brilliant. It's got some awesome stunts, including one where he jumps through a guy's stomach, which is like a little illusion they do, but it's like a live illusion. They didn't cut around it like they did it in camera.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, some really brilliant. But anyway,
another like person that like it's obviously a different genre, but like I even think to like Donald O'Connor and Singing in the Rain, like his Make 'em laugh like dance,
absolutely.
Like that's just insane what he's able to do with his body. And John Wick and Tom Cruise absolutely kind of
action films and musicals have a lot in common. Both really good.
Have you ever seen that? Not a God, I don't want to divert too much. We'll talk after the show.
So, are there any other movies that we maybe were missing here? I said Cocaine Bear. I think that would have been a good fit.
Gran Turismo on the list, obviously, was way better than it had any right being.
Surprisingly much better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
If they had a category for most like surprising movie, like that wins hands down.
It might have, yeah. Most annoying trailer, but good movie.
Yeah.
Because the trailer kept playing over and over in front of like every movie I saw this summer. And I just got so sick of it.
I know that Brain Candy, you kind of think of action, but I think even something like Wonka could have been nominated here, where like it's not like a big thinking movie. It's just kind of an enjoyable time. Listen to some fun songs and look at some pretty colors.
I will, to that point, I think that this is a very action-heavy group of nominees. I would love to see it have a little more variety in the future, something like a musical, and also something like horror films. I'm kind of glad to see the Meg 2 on here. I'm glad to hear Cocaine Bear mentioned. I really enjoyed Evil Dead Rise, which is very like genuinely creepy. Like it is going for full horror. It's not campy. It's not comedy. But you can turn your brain off and it's like, oh, family and building, demons try to kill. Great. That's all I need to know. And I'm just going to watch that unfold. and to mixed results sometimes, but to me it delivered. So
Is
I would
that
almost
is that
that in here.
is that like is that a horror comedy or is it just a horror?
Just
The
that's straight
Evil
horror.
Dead remakes have kind of, I think they're trying to pivot away from Raimi's style by not doing the comedy. There are a few, like there's always a joke or two in there just to make it not totally bleak. But yeah, it is more straight horror where they're trying to chill you rather than make you laugh. So
It was probably the creepiest movie I saw.
Yeah.
2023.
Some really creepy moments, and like anytime a horror movie gives me some sort of disturbing visual that I've never seen before, kudos to them. And the Rat King at the end, you know what I mean if you've seen it. It is pretty crazy, and that was a romp of a horror movie. I had a great time.
So looking at the winner here, did we get this one right?
I'm fine with it. Yeah,
I'm okay with
fine
it.
with
Yeah.
it.
All right. I think it should have been the Meg, but we'll move on. Best documentary: David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived, A Disturbance in the Force, Sly, Still, a Michael J. Fox movie, and Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour. With A Disturbance in the Force was the winner here. What do we think?
The ones I really liked in this category were David Holmes, Disturbance in the Force, and Still. Sly was good, but it was, it was fine. It was just him kind of recounting his career. Yeah, it was fine. I really enjoyed Still and the way it told the story of Michael J. Fox's life. I mean, it's similar to Sly, and that it's him telling his story, but there's a lot of cool transitions and the way they filmed a lot of that stuff. I just really enjoyed the production of that film. And I actually sat down with my family and watched it. Like I put it on, and then they sat down and just started watching it with me, which I didn't expect them to do. I was just like, I'm gonna watch this. And David Holmes though wound up being my number one with Disturbance in the Force
Mine too.
2. That's just that's a brutal documentary.
Mm-hmm. Sly was actually my number one. I think Sylvester Stallone, just the way he talks, I think people discredit him so much, like just in like the vast popular pop culture type of deal, where I don't think they realize like whenever I tell somebody he wrote Rocky, he wrote the Rambo movies, they're like, what? And so just being able to like kind of get a peek behind the curtain of like kind of some of his philosophies on writing and like storytelling about these heroes, I really enjoyed the whole bit about not like in movies like this, you don't want to see your heroes die, and your heroes shouldn't die in movies like this. I really enjoyed.
I walked away
that
from
he's
that
in the
movie.
hope business. Really liked that. I really enjoyed Sly, and Disturbance in the Force was my number two. Very fun to see that.
I walked away from Sly with like a better like respect for Sylvester Stallone with like what he's done and the thought process that goes into it. I kind of wish that it maybe had gone a little deeper with some things, and it was very definitely a biased view of his career. Where like with Michael J. Fox, I like that he didn't shy away from his problems and mistakes, and it really showed him as like a whole person and not in Sly he was almost like a hero there as well, which may be the point. But David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived, was my number one by far. That movie, that documentary was like a giant gut punch, like over and over again. Like I can't believe that they had kids that were stuntmen. Like that itself just blew me away. Like something so dangerous that you need someone else to do it. I mean, like, oh, let's have this kid do it as well. Like that was, how was that legal somewhere?
Yeah, he was a few years older than Daniel, but still, I mean, yeah, if I remember correctly, yeah.
I think he was like 16 or 17, if I remember correctly.
But yeah, it was, yeah. And it gets really depressing at the end when he is, things are getting worse for him motor skill wise, and he's just kind of talking in a way that you can tell he's not enjoying life anymore, which is totally understandable. I mean, if I were stuck in a position where I were paralyzed after something like that, and I have to have people to help me and do all kinds of stuff that I used to be able to do myself, I would probably feel similarly. And when motor function is getting worse and worse and worse, yeah, it's a pretty sad movie, but there's also some good stuff in there too.
I have 3 things to say because I didn't see any of these movies. Number 1, my favorite documentary of last year was called Kim's Video, about the legendary New York City video store and its really wild origins that include like ties to the mafia and like international conspiracy. It's crazy. Sly, if you did, it sound from what you guys are saying, if you did an objective movie about Sly Stallone, probably very different because I love Rocky and Rambo, but a lot of people don't like that guy in Hollywood. Not the most well-liked human being. Every week or so, a new thing is circulating on Twitter about like, here's a bad thing Sly did. And then number 3, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, not a documentary. I don't know what to say. Like that's clearly it's a concert film, and just because it is a real person does not make it a documentary. Even I checked Letterboxd and it says genre music, does not list documentary. So someone should have their privileges revoked for nominating.
They count.
That would be David Dollar.
Yeah, Dave counts concert films as documentaries.
Here's the thing: he shouldn't.
Hey, while we're on documentaries, I think I may have mentioned this to you like 5 years ago at this point, but there's a documentary that came out in 2019, Jeremy, that I think you would very much enjoy. It's called Jump Shot, the Kenny Sailors story.
You did mention that, yeah.
It's on Hoopla and Roku right now.
Even Michael agreed with me. Look at that.
It took a lot for him to say. Yeah.
But yeah, it's about one of my Wyoming Cowboys, Kenny Sailors.
Right.
Yep, who invented the jump shot according to most basketball historians.
That's right. I just added this to my watch list. I do want to see this.
Nice. It's very good. It's one of my favorite documentaries. It's that and Empire of Dreams.
Is it as good as Hoop Dreams?
Never seen Hoop Dreams. I need to watch it.
Hard to say that anything basketball wise will live up to Hoop Dreams, but
and I will say I probably like
Pistol Shrimp.
Or the Pistol Shrimp.
I probably liked it more because it's so close to home.
Right.
And like I've met Kenny Sailors before when he was still alive and whatnot during my time in Laramie. But like Steph Curry's in it, Dirk's in it, Kevin Durant's in it, Bobby Knight.
I need to watch this. This sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Any other documentaries that maybe we missed? I had two. Kelsey, I really liked, and then BS High. Did anyone else see that?
I did not.
It's about this like made up high school that played on like nationalized TV, and this got destroyed.
Oh, Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah,
that's right.
I know this. I know the story. I haven't seen the documentary, but I remember it.
It was so interesting, and then watching the coach just like unravel during this as they're like pulling out more and more information to say like you made this up, you lied to these kids and stuff. It was not the best made, but it was probably my favorite like story as far as the documentaries go. It was definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it.
I only watched these 4 documentaries this year.
Yeah, I watched some others, but they were like true crime docs, kind of trashy true crime docs on Netflix. We didn't have 20 Days in Maripol, but I haven't seen that. But that was the Oscar winner. I just wanted to mention that. If you go to Letterboxd and select 2023 documentaries, the number 1 watch documentary according to Letterboxd is Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. So even Letterboxd gets in on the concert films or documentaries.
I haven't seen that. If it does have like behind the scenes stuff, then maybe it qualifies. But like,
yeah, I don't know.
It's a concert movie. So.
We haven't talked about the winner here yet. A Disturbance in the Force. I thought it was good, but there's so many Star Wars documentaries, and I know this one focused mainly on the making of the holiday special, which I found interesting. but like it didn't feel like anything new. It just felt like, oh, here's some more Star Wars stuff.
I had no idea Bruce Valanche helped make this. Helped make the
I
Star
did.
Wars the holiday special. That's crazy to me. I really liked it. I think it's just a Star Wars thing that I like. I liked it so much, and like it was fun to see some of the like like a Kyle Newman show up in this. Yeah, so like I get that there's been a lot of Star Wars stuff made, but I just like all of the Star Wars stuff.
You mean
It feels like
episodes 7, 8, and 9, Mikey?
I don't know what you're talking about. They haven't made those yet.
You know, speaking of the Bruce Valanche stuff, it almost feels like a sequel to Get Bruce in a way, which is a documentary about Bruce Valanche and the work he would do behind the scenes, punching up scripts and stuff like that back in the day. So, I loved his shirts in that documentary, by the way.
I can't remember who it was. Somebody on the internet was like, Bruce Valanche is the most recognizable person in Hollywood because he looks like nobody else. And so if you know who Bruce Valanche is, and if you've seen him, you're like, I know this guy, and you will never forget what he looks like.
He doesn't have the beard in the documentary, though.
That's true.
Yeah, he's a little different looking now.
Yeah.
So thinking about this, do we think that A Disturbance in the Force was the winner here?
Look, you know, they saw this at that sidewalk film festival thing or whatever, you know, that was gonna win for the Deuce cast guys. I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with it, but I still think David Holmes
2 or
was
3.
the best here by quite a long shot.
David Holmes is a really affecting documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Best actress: Sandra Huller, Greta Lee, Carey Mulligan, Natalie Portman, Margot Robbie, Emma Stone. I don't know who won this one. Does anyone know who won?
Greta Lee.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the one
Not
that Michael
white.
Forgot. Yes, that's
Yes.
why I left it off.
Yes.
Greta Lee, not white. Just
Yes.
so Sage knows.
Literally like the most common Asian American surname, but sure.
She was actually my number 3 here. I had Carey Mulligan as my number 1 and Natalie Portman as my number 2. Again, I don't necessarily like May December, probably a good movie, but I don't really care for it. But the performances were just so good in it that I that's why I had Natalie Portman too. And Carey Mulligan was definitely the best part about Maestro, besides the cathedral scene.
I did not love the Oscar result, but Emma Stone, I think, is really tremendous. I've seen Poor Things twice now. And I think that a lot of the things that put people off to it, in terms of the sexuality, that sort of thing, I think that those are all very true to the spirit of that character. You know, like an adult woman's body with a child's brain is absolutely going to just be seeking pleasure left and right and discovering new things. Like it's like a child with candy. It's like, oh, I like this. I want to eat this all the time. So of course, if you give that character an adult woman's body, something like that's going to happen. And I think that the way that she balanced, that's such a tough assignment to be like, okay, so you have a child's brain and a woman's body, go. That's a crazy thing to have to.
But
to
also,
perform.
you're constantly maturing as a
yes, and
as
also
the movie goes along. And look, and
a year every week or something like that.
You're maturing, and let's also mention that movies are not shot in sequential order.
Yeah.
So you're having to kind of keep the continuity there of your character and where she is at that moment when you're shooting those scenes, which obviously was a good job done by the guy who directed it, Yorgos Lanthimos. Keeping track of all that too.
Oh yeah.
My number 1 was Sandra Hüller, and my number 2 was Greta Lee, and then I had Emma Stone right below them. But that top 3 was all pretty solid for me. The rest I could take or leave. The rest are fine.
I think Barbie, like, shouts out to her for actually like being a really good Barbie. I mean,
she's she's good. Yeah.
I had Greta Lee as my number one. I just thought that performance, it was a very good movie, a good story, but if she hadn't have nailed that performance, then I feel like the whole thing comes tumbling down. Though I guess you could say the same thing about Emma Stone. But the movie didn't land as well. But I just really love that. Carey Mulligan was probably the only part of Maestro that I kind of liked. So that's something, I guess.
You didn't like, I'm reining it in.
No.
Hey, look, the cathedral scene was very good.
It's
Where they're
fun.
playing the music in the cathedral.
You know what? I really hate to be this guy, but as a guy who was in band for a lot of my life, when I watched him conduct, I was like, he does not know how to conduct.
You just wave the thing around like that's how you gotta do it.
I think that bothered me a little bit more than it should have during that. I didn't get the intended effect of that scene as I watched him not know how to conduct a band. An orchestra. Yeah.
I will say, I just remembered looking at my Letterboxd review for Poor Things, and I think it does win the award for funniest line of the year. I won't say the full thing, but at one point, one of the characters says, "What a pretty R word," and it was just so I was just not really expecting it, and it the whole theater kind of cracked up at that.
I could have sworn you were about to say, "I have to go punch that baby."
Oh yeah, that's a good
That
one
was
too.
An incredible line out of nowhere. I probably voted for Greta Lee. Who's to say? But I think that an understated performance like that, where the character's not like bombastic and doing lots of set piece work, but it's very internalized. Like her dilemma is very internalized, and that's also again a tough thing to play. And there's a moment, I won't spoil it for anyone who's watching that hasn't seen it. So the kind of the romantic climax, and not in that way, but like the climactic event of
when they're waiting for the
of the
Uber.
two characters, yes.
Yes.
And after that, it's like a long take that stays with her, and then her husband is there, and she just bursts into tears. And I was like, that is the perfect way to wrap that up, because those tears could mean so many things. Like to me, I think it means that like that was an overwhelming experience, but I made the right decision. And it like when you're an adult, like I mean, women tend to cry more often than men. I think we should cry more. I think that it's okay to cry, but I know so many women in my life that are like, I cry for no reason sometimes. And sometimes I cry for really complex reasons. And sometimes I cry for reasons I don't understand. I think in that moment, she's probably crying for several reasons that she quite can't comprehend. And that's why she's like, this is the only way I can do this. So that moment alone, I thought she was terrific.
And let's just say this: you talked about the beginning of the show, the Deuce cast not going with the Oscars, on so many categories. I think this
they diverted, yes.
Yeah.
So,
especially for an understated, because a lot of the acting wins go to things that are bombastic or big and theatrical.
Sometimes you win for the most acting rather than the best acting.
Yes.
I think Greta Lee never would come close to the most acting for that performance, but she was quite good.
I agree.
So with Greta Lee winning here, do we feel like that was the right call?
Yeah,
I'm good with it.
More variety, less repeats of the Oscars. Let's go.
All right.
Good job, voters. Us. Congrats to us.
That's how the show always ends. Like, guys, we did so great.
We did it.
Best ensemble cast: Air, Asteroid City, Killers of the Flower Moon, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, and Oppenheimer. To me, this one, like Oppenheimer nearly wins just because everyone was in the cast. It's like, half those other movies had people that were in Oppenheimer as well, so it was like almost wins by default there. But the cast was big, but everyone sort of did their part, and it wasn't just like, oh, we've got this person just for the sake of that person, which kind of made that work for me.
I kind of felt like everyone was on their A game in Oppenheimer, and that helps, I think, making the decision for this specific award. I'm kind of surprised Barbie wasn't in here. In terms of a stacked ensemble cast, I think Barbie is definitely up there. To me, I really don't have a preference for. I don't even remember what I voted to here. But
I had Air at 2.
I had
feel
Air
like
at
I would have
1.
gone.
See,
I
that's a weird
had
one, too. It was just so nice to see it in there. I think kind of like we were just talking about this award. I mean, like this is an award that the SAG Awards does, even though it's not an Oscar award. But
Yeah.
sometimes it goes to the most actors rather than the best actors. And Oppenheimer definitely has the most actors. You have like A-listers showing up for 2 scenes and things like
Mhm.
that. Where like it was a meme at one point in 2022 where it was like,
I just got cast.
yeah, like I just got cast in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And I think that it and Asteroid City have that same sort of quality where like it is just packed to the gills with incredibly talented people. Air, just something about the way that they all worked together on something that
Mhm.
shouldn't work as well as it does. I think that the cast deserves a lot of credit for the success of that film. Whereas you put lesser talent in Oppenheimer, it's still a really great movie, you know. Whereas I think Air without movie stars is kind of like, it's okay.
Yeah, that's exactly why I had Air number 1 as well, because I kind of thought like, okay, what casts like worked best like with each other, and like that chemistry is what made the movie great, and that's why I had Air 1, and that's also why I had Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning 2, because I just think they have, whether it's a Haley Atwell being able to come in for her first Mission Impossible movie and fitting in seamlessly, or just the Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames, and I just that really
I love
worked.
them.
Yeah.
I love Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames in the Mission
Mhm.
Impossible movies. I love Ving Rhames just shows up for a scene just to say these. Sometimes they are stupid lines. I'll say that, but
I would like to add that Haley Atwell could snap my neck, and I would thank her.
absolutely. Count me in on that.
I don't know. Thinking back on this, I wish I'd put Air at number 1. Now that I think more about it, like Oppenheimer probably had the biggest cast, and I thought everyone was great, but I think that they worked well together in Air, and if they didn't have that chemistry between those like key players there, then that's not nearly as enjoyable. So yeah, and if they had more sharks.
I don't know if Killers of the Flower Moon belongs. I think maybe something like a Guardians could have taken its place. If you're talking like ensemble cast, people working together, Barbie, like we brought up as well.
Yeah, Killers is top heavy. It's like 4 or 5 really great actors, and then a lot of lesser knowns.
Mhm.
I will say though that Killers of the Flower Moon featured both Jason Isbell and Sturgill Simpson, so that kind of
Yep. Sturgill Simpson on the Civil War soundtrack too.
Oh, is he? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
He's a really good actor. I think
He
Isbell
is.
also showed that he's got some juice too, but Sturgill I've been impressed with in multiple things.
Sturgill was in The Creator too, right?
Yes,
Yep.
pretty significant part in The Creator.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in what's the movie where they meet on a Tinder date and then they go on the run?
I know what you're. It's like a name. And
Queen and Slim.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's really good at that too.
I forgot about that movie.
Shouts out to Sturgill.
Mm-hmm.
So are we happy with the choice of Oppenheimer here?
Yes.
No.
Sometimes the boring answer is the right answer, or at least a good answer. So
yeah.
I can't say that I'm mad at any. I can't disagree with any of the awards.
It wasn't undeserving.
Right.
Okay. Next up, we have the sequel award. Best action film. The Equalizer 3, Extraction 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, John Wick 4, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, with John Wick 4 picking up the win here.
I think that we've already discussed a lot of the merits of John Wick 4, but the fact that this franchise keeps showing us new things and giving us new things to enjoy and even to laugh at, like there are some comedy set pieces as well that are like I mean, the staircase scene in particular is like my theater was howling.
Falling. Yeah.
You know, and that may be why I was thinking of Buster Keaton, because it's like he's a great comedian too, or Chaplin. And the overhead POV with the fire gun, I was like, I don't know what this is, but it rocks. Like it just does. It covers so much ground in so many cool ways, and it's just I love that franchise. I will say right now, I don't think he's dead. I think they're going to keep going.
Yeah, I think at a certain point they will, but I do think they're going to take a little break, because I know that Ballerina, which is supposed to come out, it's coming out this year. When he shows up, it's supposed to be between 3 and 4 or whatever. So that's not the technical revival yet, but I do think that will happen.
The rule in horror movies is if you don't see the body, they're not dead. So
yeah, I totally when he has his death scene in the film, I'm like, they kind of left that open for him to come back.
I was waiting.
I was like, when he was
show me the body, and they
he's the boogeyman too. So
who was it that was at the grave at the end? Whoever was at the grave at the end, I thought he was going to walk up behind them and kind of confirm, like, okay, I'm not dead, but I'm going to retire. You know. But this is my number 2. I had it just behind Dead Reckoning. I love Tom Cruise jumping a cliff on a motorcycle for real. I'll never get sick of that stuff. That's my favorite stuff in the action genre right now, is him holding on the side of a plane, climbing a building, the Burj Khalifa.
I think Tom Cruise, a little bit of him wants to die in the middle of one of these.
He's an adrenaline junkie for sure.
He's doing it for us. Like that man, like where he's almost the anti-Bradley Cooper, whereas Bradley wants the awards, he wants to fill that trophy case, and Tom Cruise wants us to be happy. He wants audiences to pack the theaters, throw down huge tubs of popcorn, and have a great time. He does it for us because he loves us, and he's never going to stop. His body will fail him, and he'll continue to do it, and probably break both legs falling off a skyscraper. And I hate that for him, but I love that he's doing it for us.
He's like the knight in the Monty Python movie. Just a flesh wound.
He might be eventually, yeah.
He'll be going. It would just be like a snob, but he's like still jumping out of planes and stuff. The only movie that I sort of thought was maybe missing from here was one called Polite Society. Did anyone else see that?
No.
I didn't, and it looked great. I need to see it.
There's some really great action scenes in that one.
That's great.
I think that would have been this category as well. What were people's thoughts on Extraction 2? I didn't really enjoy it. I thought there was like one or two really great action scenes.
I thought it was mid.
Yeah, I liked it more than Equalizer 3. I thought Equalizer 3 was pretty not good.
I thought those were about the same, personally. I just kind of they were the lowest of the films on the list for me.
I think it's the weakest Equalizer, and I have only seen the first Extraction and thought it was fine. So I expect the second one's probably also fine.
It's got a oneer, just like the first one.
I love those, so I got to see it for that at least.
The oneer's not bad. It's in like a jail, and it's pretty good, but the story's just dumb. It's just it's not. I don't find those movies that really. I don't love them. I wish Chris Hemsworth would do something different, honestly. But,
Black Hat 2.
Yeah, I'd rather Black Hat 2 at this point.
He's doing Furiosa. That looks sweet at least.
Yes, actually, that really, that does look great.
It sounds like we're all sort of in agreement that John Wick 4 was the true winner here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yep.
Did anyone see the John Wick TV series, The Continental?
Not yet.
No.
Pretty good. It's not. It would be like 5th of the 5 John Wick things, but it's still like it gives you what it scratched the itch. If you're like, man, I can't wait for Ballerina or for Wick 5 or whatever, give that a shot. It's like 3 feature-length episodes, so like 4 or 5 hours total.
I saw one of the Wick guys crapping on that the other day.
It's pretty good. It's even Michael says
like,
not that bad.
I thought I
was a villain, so like a little bit of life imitating art.
All right.
guess, yeah, I don't really see any action movies I would have put there personally.
Yeah.
All right. So best song or score, we had Ludwig Göransson, Trent Reznor, and Atticus Ross. Daniel Pentaton. I can never say this name right. Dua Lipa.
Dua
Dua
Lipa.
Lipa.
See, I'm old. Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt.
Michael is right. This should not be combined. It's weird that like.
Yeah, it does stink because like
Yeah.
I wanted I'm Just Kin to win so bad,
But you just couldn't
But-
help yourself, could you?
but I couldn't. I had to put Göransson at 1 because Göransson's scores. So I literally listen to that score sometimes on the way to. I'm really weird. I sometimes listen to that score on the way to work. I love his work that he's done for Nolan. The Tenet score and the Oppenheimer score are both brilliant scores to me. But yeah, my number 1 was Göransson. My number 2 was I'm Just Kin. You guys can say what you want about that.
I had I'm Just Kin number 1. I had Pemberton for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse number 2.
Great score too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that The Killer is not even Reznor and Ross's best score of the year. I think that the Turtles score is better.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot more. I listen to it more. I think it's weird that a bunch of middle-aged men like Dua Lipa this much. Like, I don't buy that.
Really, is it that weird?
It feels a little like Viola. I don't know, like how.
Have you seen Dua Lipa, and you're going to tell me it's weird
I
that
feel
middle-aged
like-
men don't like her a little bit?
Well, I
I
mean,
feel like this is.
you don't look at her when you're listening to the song necessarily.
I feel like this is a reaction against the Billie Eilish song. They're like, all right, we'll put this Barbie song on there, but
What
not.
if they nominated neither? I mean, like, just nominate I'm Just Kin. And
Yeah, I don't know why that's on there, honestly.
I will
It's a
say
good song.
I voted for I'm Just Kin, I'm pretty sure. And it's because I think that one of the things that the Oscars and other awards shows get wrong is that they nominate songs that are just played over the credits,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not a part of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a song is part of the film, it doesn't necessarily have to be a musical. I mean, like, I wouldn't consider Barbie a musical, even though there are musical numbers. When that comes, it is a pivotal moment of the scene. Of the film for that character. You get character development through songs or comedy because of that musical number, and it really does the job. I think that that's the only kind of songs we should be nominating for Deucies or Oscars. I think Dua Lipa's cool, but like, who cares? It was just a pop song that was in Barbie. Like, I don't know why we're even putting it on this list.
And that's a good point. I like it when those songs are worked into the score too, as like motifs that you hear throughout the film. Eilish's song, I think, is done like that in Barbie.
Sure.
If you go see the Fall Guy, it's not the exact same, but I Was Made for Loving You is literally a motif throughout the score.
Right.
There's a little guitar riff that plays throughout, and it plays like 3 times in the film. To the original song, won a cover of the song by Youngblood or something. It's the weirdest thing, but it's a lot of fun on that case.
I almost think that this should be like split up, right? Do own category for score.
Mm-hmm.
But then with best song, I think you should open it up to it doesn't have to be a new song, right? Just best use of a song.
There you go. I like that. That's a good way to differentiate. That's one of the draconian Oscar rules. Like, there have been entire scores that were disqualified because they used existing compositions. Like, I think Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead got something disqualified because of that. And I think that's a little weird. I think it's anything like, if like 10% of your score is Beethoven, like, who cares? Just you made it work. You made it different. You made it new.
I totally agree.
Now, the same way with the songs, I agree with Roth. Like, if you used a pop song in a really cool, like, clever way, award it. Give it. That's what the Deucies should be for. Is for interesting
now
like that, where like the Oscars are not thinking of or even considering it because they've got their pinkies out. But we could nominate Thunderstruck from the Fall Guy. Best needle drop.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's exactly what I was going to say, but I was waiting for
best needle drop.
Yeah.
Make it a category.
Why don't we just call it best needle drop?
Yeah. Best needle drop. I need to see that. And best stunts. The Fall Guy reminded us that that's not an Oscar.
Yes, in a scene specifically. Yeah.
I
With
think
the-
this
Excited to see that
category
movie.
had the biggest snub of the whole Deucey season.
Oh,
Peaches.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
this was fun, man. I
think
thought
the
that movie
problem-
was just okay, but I think that's a good song.
There was some character development in there, like you were talking about.
Absolutely. It qualifies.
I think the problem for Peaches, it was a March release, right? So it was so early in the year. That hurts a lot of films for award season stuff. And then when the Deuces does things like a month after the Oscars, that doesn't help on that timeline.
It doesn't help with the Deucey Awards body because they've forgotten at that point.
Yeah.
Just because they were a year ago.
as we addressed earlier, we're all old now.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are old, but yeah.
Yeah, Garrison's not.
Um,
No, I'm getting there.
age. So, do we think that the Oppenheimer score was the true winner here, the best?
I love that score.
Sure.
But that's just me.
I'm going to say no, just to be different. No, I don't think it should have won. I think Oppenheimer has won like 12 awards already. Like,
it won.
like, just do something. I mean, I liked seeing a lot of these nominees on the list. I think I'm just 10 should have won. I think
Mhm.
it
Hey, Burgess.
does the most with the music.
Burgess, can you hear the music?
No.
That's my favorite. The soundtrack kicking in right after that, and the clouds. Oh god.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Love that.
All
movie.
right. Moving on to best drama, we had The Holdovers, The Killer, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and You Hurt My Feelings. What do we think about this one?
Oppenheimer didn't win, and I just think that's neat.
Yep. I had Oppenheimer number 3. I had Holdovers 1, Past Lives 2. I enjoyed You Hurt My Feelings. It was I was expecting to not really like it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to.
I love You Hurt My Feelings. I think it's kind of brilliant the way it takes such a trivial thing and extrapolates it to like what could end a marriage. You know, like for some people that's just like a thing they laugh off, but for those particular people, it became a snowball effect where it was just like it came to represent bigger things within their marriage. And I from the premise alone, I was like, yes, this is a fear of mine too, and I connect with it, and I loved it.
Well, and like, how many of us have not been in that position, like where you overhear something or you were overheard saying something that you weren't supposed to, or that you weren't supposed to hear? Like, it's a fantastic premise.
Yes. I mean, we've all, even like, it may not be about our work, but we've all overheard like, oh, look at this weird shirt he wore today. You know, like things that shouldn't matter, and from people that love us, but they genuinely do hurt our feelings. And it's
especially like if it's something that like you're maybe self-conscious of or not sure of, like whether it's like this didn't happen, but like I've got a pair of glasses that are just a little bit too small for my face. And I'm like, I was driving down the road. I'm like, man, these are too small for my face. I'm like, this is going to suck if somebody like points that out. Like, it's just like that thing where you're like, I'll never wear those glasses again once somebody says something.
Yep.
You Hurt My Feelings could have been nominated for screenplay also, by the way.
Totally agree. Yeah.
This is not reading. I mean, it's a
Tenet.
scene.
Why do you feel
CD.
I will also say, I think just to continue this You Hurt My Feelings love train, I feel like it's so rare that we see like marriages work out in movies. And so it's refreshing to see that here at the end too. Spoiler alert, but it's a drama, so it's not that big of a spoiler. But yeah.
Well, I mean, the same could be said about the winner as well. I mean, depending on how you interpret the ending.
Yes, absolutely. Which is, I think, why I love these two so much, Past Lives and You Hurt My Feelings. And Little Holdovers love. Really good movie. That's my favorite movie of the year, is The Holdovers. Paul Giamatti in it is just so good. I get there's stuff about maybe possibly stealing that story, but
no. That guy
I don't
is
either.
delusional.
Yeah.
That guy is out of his mind.
I think it speaks to the power of the holdovers. I thought like, oh, if someone missed this in December or even January, they'll probably just wait till Christmas to watch it. So many of my friends in February and March and April were like, yo, I saw the holdovers. And I'm like, bro, it's warm outside. Where are you watching? Why are you watching the holdovers? But then I'm like, okay, well, they loved it. I loved it too. Why not have Christmas in April? Go for it.
Look, it is not warm outside yet, Jeremy.
It is in Alabama.
In
dude.
February and March,
God.
it was still like 15
It's
degrees.
It was
85
86
degrees
today.
here.
It
Yeah.
was 86 today, and someone texted me 2 days ago, like, "Hey, I just watched the holdovers," and I was like, "Girl, it's April 30th. What are you doing?"
I will say
Oh,
now
yeah.
it's warm here in Wyoming. It's 44 right now. It was 50 today. Real warm weather we got.
Good Lord. In beautiful Brunswick, Georgia,
I was in shorts today.
it was mid 80s today, and I was sweating in my car at first because I didn't realize I needed the air conditioning on.
Same.
I think I might be the only person in the world who only just liked the holdovers. I didn't love it.
Tate and Sage.
I don't love it like Jacob and Mikey do, but Paul Giamatti's performance I do love that.
His performance was great. I felt like the whole movie was a little like formulaic and just like kind of predictable, and sort of knew where it was going. And I mean, I enjoyed the journey, but it didn't like, I don't know, it didn't feel like new or different. It was just like a good telling of a familiar story.
As the one person that liked The Killer, I'm glad to see that on here too. It is. I think that it's nice that it. A year ago, we might have assumed that The Killer would qualify for Best Action Movie, and it does not. It is a drama. It is about a character's internal struggle with being bad at his job and not trusting the people he works for, and trying to figure out what his purpose is. And I think that it's cool to see something like that in Best Drama.
Agreed. Even though I think it's all right.
Moving on to Best Comedy.
It's like a report card, all these A's and B's.
Yeah.
Not my report card. At least not my college report card.
There you go.
We have American Fiction, Anyone But You, Asteroid City, Bobby, and Blackberry.
Who's the Anyone But You stand? Oh, thank you, Melissa.
Got to be David, I think.
I feel like I'm in the minority there. I just think that movie did not work. Like, it tried to be a screwball comedy and then abandoned that completely. And then, like Roth said, a lot of the supporting performances are not great, and it was just kind of a mess.
So I didn't speak up earlier, but I enjoyed Glenn. I enjoyed what's his name, and
Glenn Powell. I love
Glenn and Sydney so much that yes, a lot of the other stuff wasn't great, but I enjoyed them so much that I had a fun time with them.
I am happy. I will say this: I am happy that it made money, because I've been on the Glenn Powell for president train for like 8 years. Garrison dug up one of my old tweets. There's facts behind this. It was like 2016.
And his mom liked the tweet. I saw that.
That's incredible. I think that he's so charming and so talented and very handsome, honestly. And it's taken so long for the general population to catch up to him. But this is his year. He has Anyone But You, kind of sort of counts as a 2024 movie because that's when everyone saw it. He has so he has something for everyone. He has a rom-com, he has an action movie in Twisters, and he has a hard, cold drama in Hitman from Richard
Oh yeah.
I think that he is just about to have the best year of his life, and I'm so happy for him. He deserves.
Mm-hmm.
And all this kicked off really with Maverick a couple years ago. I think that was his big. That was break into the mainstream.
Most people. I mean, like, if you go back to Everybody
Wants Some. Yeah.
I first saw him in the TV show Scream Queens. Shout out to anybody that actually watched Scream Queens. He plays a character named Chad Radwell, and that character is just what you think he is. I was just like, who is this guy? He's so good, and it's so cool to see him.
That's kind of typecasting him.
The term did I say what? Why is Melissa calling me out? What did I say?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that
I don't know.
romantic comedies are great?
I love rom-coms.
Do we just
not to bring back up the bad guy, but Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell's movie last year, Devotion, or 2 years ago now, was very good. I very much
Oh
enjoyed
yeah,
it.
I forgot about that.
Well, this isn't the Glenn Powell Award. There are 4 of these, but Nate, bring us back on track.
Were there any movies that could have also fit in this category that we missed?
What's the Jennifer what's her face movie?
No Hard Feelings.
No Hard Feelings.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Bottoms.
Didn't see it.
Yeah.
I thought Bottoms was hilarious. It was like wild and got crazy and off the rails at the end, but I loved that.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch was awesome.
I was going to say the best part of it for me was Marshawn Lynch. Anytime he was on screen, I was having a fun time, and I love Rachel Sennett, and the other girl that I don't want to even try to pronounce her name because I know I'm going to screw it up.
I think it's Ayo Edebiri.
Okay, all right. They're really good. They're funny. The ending, though, it goes so far.
Yes,
and I respect it, but it didn't make me haha. I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to like Bottoms more than I actually did.
Yeah,
I think it was
me too.
Decent, but like it made. I think that's a scenario where I'm the problem, and it's for Gen Z and for their comedy wavelength, and I just didn't.
I'm elder Gen Z, 97. Yeah, but yeah, I think I'm just a little too elder Gen Z. I'm about the same age as Rachel Sennett, but yeah.
I think the movie that made me laugh the most and the hardest this year was Cocaine Bear. I don't know if you could call it a comedy, but it made me laugh that a lot. Michael's favorite movie, Lady Ballers.
I don't know if this counts as a pure comedy, but I really liked Dream Scenario, and there's a well-timed fart in Dream Scenario that made me laugh maybe more than anything else I've seen this year.
Okay, now I've got to see that.
Farts are like, just like a timeless, ancient, classic device. Like, farts will always be funny. It is just we are intelligently designed, but we also fart, and that is awesome. So, shouts out to farts.
my 9-year-old daughter seconds that.
I third that. Farts are awesome.
Did anyone see Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain? I think it was directed by.
I meant to. I like those guys.
It was so dumb, but it was hilarious.
Okay. I think this was a year where I enjoyed TV comedies more than I enjoyed film comedies. I think Beef was particularly funny, and I think no one else saw Paul T. Goldman, I assume, but I would add that to your watch list. It's from the director of the second Borat movie, and it is just doing some incredibly subversive things with the comedy format, where it's like a dramedy, like it's part documentary, but also part comedy. I don't want to say too much, but Paul T. Goldman, fantastic.
I had American Fiction, my number one here.
Me too.
It's for like comedy, like pure comedy, probably doesn't fit that mold, but in terms of movie, and it made me laugh a fair amount as well. So
there's a lot of pure comedic satire in there.
Yes, it's much more like comedic satire than it is.
Like I mean, it's not fully straight comedy.
Jim Carrey comedy.
Yeah, but Barbie, I don't remember what I put as my number 2. That'd probably be my number 2 if I just listed all these out right now.
That was my number 2.
I'm ultimately fine with that.
I think I had Asteroid City 1 and Blackberry 2. I thought Blackberry exceeded my expectations. I love a product movie. I learned that about myself last year.
Tetris was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Tetris was pretty good, but even if that's like the 4th best product movie of the year, like that's a genre I think Dumb Money sort of falls into that category, which I thought was a pretty decent comedy. But yeah, Blackberry, I think it's like, what if the Social Network, but it went south instead of north?
And
it's
sometimes a director can insert himself into a movie as a character and really not work. But I thought Matt Johnson was pretty good in the film.
I actually think he was the weakest link. I think that the movie's even better if you put like Seth Rogen in that role.
Yep.
Okay.
When I read that on your Letterboxd review, Jeremy, I was like, wow, yes, absolutely.
And I get like credit to Matt. He's a good actor. I don't think he's a bad
Mhm.
actor, and I don't think he ruins it. I think it's still a very good movie. I think it would just have been like a little step up if someone else had matched the chops of
That's fair.
Howard
Yeah.
and Baruchel.
Yeah, I had one of those BlackBerry Storms.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was my first smartphone.
Melissa, M. Night is a bad actor. Get him out.
Yeah, well, M. Night's just doing the cameos. He's not doing a whole role.
Thank God he's doing just the cameos. He's not good. I love him. I'm like
me too.
of his, but like that's not his strength.
Look, I
Hitchcock
own Glass.
had the gall to not speak in his cameos, but
Yeah.
M. Night needs to just be in the background or something.
Yeah.
All right, and I think we've got maybe 2 categories left.
Nice.
Sci-fi / horror movie. We got The Creator, Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Transformers: Rise of the Beast. One of these movies is not like the others.
Tell us which one.
Yeah.
Transformers.
I agree.
I did not see Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, and I think that with the ongoing looming threat of artificial intelligence, I think that it is likely that we have already seen a film that was written by AI, and I think that it is likely that that film is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
You know what? You may not be wrong, man.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not to the level of these other movies.
I had to do a whole extra review on it with all of these guys, and I did not enjoy Rise of the Beasts. I enjoyed their little tease at like a G.I. Joe team up. I was like, okay, I'm intrigued by that. Let's do that. I didn't
Like
really...
if you want to talk a brain candy movie, that's that.
Yeah. But even my brain was not having fun. That's the problem. I have a tough time turning off my brain in a lot of films.
I don't have that problem.
No, I don't either.
I got to try to turn it on each day when I go to work.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Michael mentioned he wished that he had forced Talk to Me
Yeah.
on here, and that's a movie I didn't even love. I think it's doing some cool things, but I think it kind of falls apart in the third act. It wasn't a really good year for horror last year. My favorite horror movie was one called Birth Rebirth, which was not even like a mainstream wide release. It played a little bit of like a decent theatrical run, but didn't get a huge push. Godzilla is a horror movie, though. Like that, its origins are in horror, and
this is a bit more.
It's sci-fi as well because it's for obvious reasons. I think that Talk to Me was the horror movie of the year. It was the horror event of the year. I liked Evil Dead Rise better, but Talk to Me put a new team of directors on the map. It put some actors that I didn't recognize on the map. Some Aussie actors, Nate, that you might champion.
They were all new to me.
Okay. Well, the woman from the Babadook is in it. I think she plays the mom. I forget her name, but have you seen?
I think you're right. Like, yeah, she's not like well, she might be now. It's been a while since I've really spent a lot of time there, but she was always kind of like a bit actor. You'd see her in like TV shows and never really like a starring role, but yeah.
It was cool to see her. I didn't recognize anyone else, but anyway, that wasn't even nominated. I think The Creator is actually better than a lot of people give it credit for. I think that Gareth, I get Edwards and Evans mixed up. He's Edwards, right?
Edwards, yep.
Gareth Evans is the one that did The Raid, which rocks. But Gareth Edwards is like, him and his team are just like the best in the business when it comes to effects. There's some just stunningly realistic things. Creator that I could not believe, like, stuff like that is going to have to be CGI, if not just for budget reasons, but for safety reasons a lot of the time. And when it's in their hands, I feel totally fine watching whatever they create because it looks so good. And it's the budget of that movie is like 40 million. It is shockingly low. And what they did with that, I think, is stunning.
And they used really, really not, I mean, to the consumer, they're expensive cameras, but working with a film, they're not expensive cameras. I love that they went as low budget as they could on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it still turned out as gorgeous as it is. But oh God. What was that? Nope, Jacob. Jacob's having this thing again. That happens occasionally. The big winner here is Godzilla to me. I mean, that's the big story. Look, as someone who's maybe a little bit of a Godzilla fan, I maybe have some of the movies on.
I got that set too. A friend of mine's borrowing it.
I loved -1. I walked in that movie not really knowing what to expect, but it felt like kind of a coming out of it as a Godzilla fan. It felt like kind of almost a retelling of the '54 film, but but done with modern Japanese effects, modern Japanese.
It could be building
CGI.
up to keep going because it precedes the events of the original film, right?
Oh, okay. I guess so. Yeah, timeline
World
wise.
War II, so
yeah.
So in theory, it could be like that -1 is leading up to a similar retell. Like it wouldn't be I wouldn't call it a remake, but it could be leading up to the events of the original being retold.
I just like that they have the group of people getting together and they're gonna trap it in the water by sucking it down. Yeah, which is not too dissimilar. Like they get it in the water in the original '54 film and like kind of dissolve it, don't they? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's like an atomizer. There's some sort of you know what I'm talking about. Like they drop a thing into the ocean and it zaps Godzilla away. It's kind of silly.
That's right.
But like you have to. I mean, how else are you?
It's like chemical stuff. Yeah.
Iodizer? I don't know. Ionizer?
But I liked this solution a lot better. It felt a bit more based in like kind of real science, even if it's still working with a gigantic lizard that they're trying to take down. But the human story in this to me is the best part. I mean, the story of the suicide pilot, the kamikaze fighter pilot, and just everything that happens towards the end. Jacob's not seen the film, so I'm not going to ruin what happens, but it's a really beautiful story.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the premise was established, I was like, this is already more intriguing on a character level than any of the American ones. And I think that we discussed like the American versus the Japanese Godzillas right now. And if this one is any indication as to what Japan's going to keep producing, I think that the visual effects in the American versions are actually a little bit better, but I think that Japan's doing everything else better. They're doing the writing better. They're doing the characters better. They're doing, just the interplay between the characters. Like it's just, it's a better directed film because it's not just two monsters punching each other. It's more involved than that. I think that it's really exciting. I didn't love Shin Godzilla, the Japanese one before this.
I still haven't seen that yet, but
I will be curious to hear your take once you see it. It to me is like 90% dudes in suits talking in conference rooms, and that's not really why I go to a Godzilla movie.
Yeah,
this has my faith restored in the Japanese Godzilla lineage to come.
I know Sheen was done by, just a quick note, this is one guy who's making like a bunch of these, like he did a Sheen Ultraman, which is another Japanese series, and he's doing a Shin Kamen Rider. So like that's his whole like series that he's doing, that same director. And I'm intrigued because I kind of want to see all of those. But yeah, I haven't watched them yet. -1 is fantastic though.
Agreed.
And I think someone who worked on -1, I can't remember if it's the director or just someone high up in production, worked on the really good Gamera trilogy in the 90s.
Really? I need to look this up.
I'd have to. There's some connection there. If not worked on it, maybe just heavily inspired by it. Maybe the thing I got mixed up with, but yeah. which would make sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gamera is a thing that's not going to be an American franchise.
Probably never, yeah.
I was really pleased to see Dungeons and Dragons get nominated here. That was one of those like kind of surprising movies that I went in and like, okay, this could be good, it could be bad, and it was like really good. And Chris Pine was amazing in it. It was just a lot of fun.
It unfortunately bombed at the box office. That's what sucks.
Yeah, so we're probably not going to get another one.
Probably not. I mean, when something like that happens, they usually don't put up the money for a sequel unless it's just had great video life, like Blade Runner, and then they put up Blade Runner 2049 bombs anyway. But it does happen occasionally where something hits on home video. But
yeah, I need to see it.
Yeah, I was disappointed I wasn't able to get Godzilla -1 watched. I had Guardians 4 as my number one. Followed by Creator, Dungeons and Dragons, and Transformers.
I think you'd really like Godzilla -1.
Yeah,
it's just a great film.
If I could rent it for $50 right now, I probably would. Well, if it was before the Deuces nominations were due, I would have. But as soon as it comes available to watch, I will be watching it.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it in a better format. All right, and I think we're on to the final category of the night.
Finale.
Best Picture. American Fiction, Barbie, Godzilla -1, The Holdovers, The Iron Claw, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives.
Michael, do you have the scoop Maestro? Ticker available for me?
I booed Maestro.
Have you seen Maestro, Jeremy?
Because I've got a scoop. I've got a scoop here, people.
You have a scoop?
I've got a scoop. Inside Source is giving me it. I've got the. You won't be able to see it, but I've got I've got the numbers for Best Picture.
Oh.
In last place came Maestro.
Nice.
Average rating of 5.83. Tied for second to last, Barbie and American Fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next position, The Iron Claw. This would be, let's see, 1, 2. And fourth, Godzilla -1 with a 4.5.
Nice.
The Holdovers with a 4.17. And with a tie for first, having to go to tiebreaker, Oppenheimer and Past Lives at 2.33. Oppenheimer winning because of tiebreaker, which was the movie that was ranked number 1 by more people.
I was assuming the tiebreaker was what had already won the most awards, and they just did something else. So.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. There's your scoop.
So never say that voting doesn't matter, kids.
Yep.
It would have mattered. If anyone abstained from the Deucies this year, your vote would have.
Rhett.
Oh, Rhett.
Yeah. Oh, did someone actually abstain?
I don't know if abstain is the right word. I think didn't he just like
forgot
it in?
Forgot to do the homework.
Forgot. Okay, that tracks.
I had Holdovers as my number 1, followed by Past Lives and Oppenheimer in third. That's probably right for Rhett.
I probably put something like Iron Claw, Godzilla, Past Lives, if I had to guess.
I had put. Oh, you go on.
I had Iron Claw, Past Lives, Barbie.
Nice.
Oppenheimer was 4 for me.
Wow. I probably shouldn't say my list out loud. I might make people angry.
No, let's hear it.
I have Oppenheimer, Godzilla at 2. That's my second favorite film of the year, I think. American Fiction at 3, Past Lives at 4, then Holdovers, and then Barbie, and then Iron Claw, and then Maestro. And that's not to say I hate any of those films, except maybe Maestro.
Why did you hate the Iron Claw, and why do you hate the Von Erichs?
Why are you happy with their story?
Dude, that film is, I mean, when Jeremy Allen White kills himself, I don't remember his character's name at this point, or his real life person.
Texas Tornado. Carrie Von Erich.
Yeah, when he kills himself, that was maybe the worst scene, because he's right there too.
I still like every few days I think of Zac Efron's kids saying "We'll be your brother's dad," and it just makes me want to cry a little bit. It's just, I think that it's tough to walk the line with a film like that to not turn it into tragedy porn.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of, I mean, if you do that film the wrong way, it's like a Lifetime special. You know, it's tragedy porn that's emotionally manipulative, and they don't do that. I think that it works so well because you connect with the characters in the time that you have with them. And I was just blown away. I can't wait to see what Sean Durkin does next.
Yeah, I think The Iron Claw is my number one. There might have been a little like recency bias when I put that down, but it's definitely one that still sticks with me. Like it was, for all the reasons you just talked about, it's just, I don't know if it was my favorite movie of the year, but I thought it was the best movie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It was my favorite movie starring Lily James of the year, for sure.
Well, fair enough. I will say I think it sucks. I think A24 does so many things well, but I think they totally bungled the release of that film. Not only did it come out too late, like a week or two before Christmas, it didn't premiere at a festival. I didn't realize this until weeks after the fact. Most of these films, if they're released late in December or even like early December, they premiere at TIFF, they premiere at Telluride, they premiere at like wherever. This didn't do that, and they only rolled it out wide in late December, and I don't understand that. I think they
didn't. Sorry.
I think if they moved it up a few weeks and premiered at TIFF, you might see a different outcome. I think you might see some award season love for this.
They also really didn't do a campaign for Zac Efron, like at all.
That's part of it. It's like they didn't begin the campaign season with a festival premiere or give it an appropriate release window or campaign during actual award season. I don't understand. Maybe they thought that it wasn't deserving more than some of the other films that they had out there, but they didn't campaign for that, and they didn't campaign for Priscilla, and I think that was a mistake on both counts.
I will say my whole ratings list: Holdovers, Past Lives, Oppenheimer, Maestro, American Fiction, Barbie, Iron Claw.
Oh wow! So you also
I also torpedo
are totally fine with the events with Von Erich.
Yeah, right, there we go.
I still haven't seen Maestro. Someone tell me why I should watch Maestro.
You should watch Maestro because there is one really, really good scene that's about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and the rest of the movie after that scene is quite good as well.
So it's like I have to eat my vegetables for an hour. Okay, Carey Mulligan, that's a decent reason.
Carey Mulligan is also very good. If you're gonna watch it, I would watch it on have something producing good sound for it, whether it's like a good pair of headphones or.
I got a sound bar on my home setup, so
yeah.
It's got great prosthetics. I mean, the makeup. I wish I was.
Some of them are a little on the nose.
The makeup job is seriously good though. When he's in the old age makeup, it is actually fantastic. That's worth seeing. The movie though, to me, felt like a series of vignettes that I just didn't care about as it went from scene to scene. I was just like, oh, okay.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
He does each different phase of his life in a different, almost genre. I don't know if genre is the right word, but style.
I will someday catch up.
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe.
All right. Well, looking through, I've been sort of keeping track of this here, but it appears like we agreed with all the choices that we made. So
I stand by all of my choices. I
Yeah.
would say that, yeah.
See, this used to be a show where I think when we started this, I think it was maybe just me and Jacob had voted,
Yeah.
and Nate was not voting.
And Nate didn't know that we were voters either.
Yeah, and I
It was
just
revealed to him
railing
live
it.
on air. He's like, "Wait, what?"
So I don't think this is supposed to be a show with a bunch of voters on it. But
It's
now
kind
we
of-
directly
it's
have
morphed a little.
influence. Yeah.
Now it's Deucey voters explain themselves.
Yeah, Deuces
Yeah.
explained.
As Wiz Khalifa once said, we used to not be allowed in the building, but now we own the rooftop. So,
Yeah.
congrats to us, gentlemen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone who stuck with this. It's I think Mikey said it's not quite Reflections length, but we're headed there. So
You can get there.
Maybe
Yeah.
if the voters had done a better job, we would have had less to say.
thank you, Garrison. Thank you, Roth. Thank you, Burgess, for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, man. This was fun.
Does anyone have anything they want to plug? Garrison?
You could find me on Twitter at GRyfun3, GRYFUN3, Instagram as well. You can find me at Letterboxd at GRyfun, GRYFUN, where I sometimes review things, not always, but you can see my writings, I guess, if you want to see them. And that's about it.
Jacob?
Roth from Wyoming, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. Good Day for a Movie Podcast is the podcast. Our last episode was actually a release of A Catholic and Two Protestants Go to the Movies with Dr. Earl and Matt Mink. Reviewing the final 2 episodes of the latest season of The Chosen. Hopefully we'll have a new episode of that at some point in the next month or two. But our next episode will be the Sunset Limited, the Tommy Lee Jones, Sam Jackson HBO movie.
Nice.
Very excited to watch that one. We record that Saturday, and that's actually this summer is going to be a little interesting for Good Day for a Movie Podcast because we're going to be primarily sageless. This is kind of breaking news. Sage has started a job in Boulder, working in a kitchen as a chef, and he's only got a couple days off, and it's probably just not going to work full time for the summer. But so we don't really know what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be a little bit of a different look. But yeah, Sunset Limited coming on Monday.
Jeremy?
You should go to dustonthevcr.com and read my weekly newsletter if you don't already. If you do, thank you. I appreciate you giving me like 5-6 minutes every week. I have, I don't want to say too much, but in the next few weeks, I have a piece for Garden and Gun magazine coming out. So I will drop that in the promos channel of the Deuce Chord whenever that arrives. It is film centric, so I'm excited about it. I think y'all will be too.
Celtic Pride is or Celtic Pride, if you were talking basketball, was the last Dust on the VCR. It was a good read.
Thank you, man. I do think I accidentally guaranteed the Celtics will win the NBA championship this year. The Knicks are winning, by the way, in case anyone.
Are they?
Up with it. The Knicks are up 8 with 3 minutes to go. So
okay.
All right. Well, Mikey, thanks for being in the background on this. But
love you, Michael. We'll be your brother.
Thanks, Michael.